Okay, I'm going to present the first video that was prepared to remind you about the workshop that was done at CareTrade. So let's start by talking about toward and away moves. Toward moves are things we do to approach who and what is important to us in our lives, while away moves are things we do that might move us away from what's important to us. So we need to ask two questions. First, who and what is important to you? What do you want to move toward? And what inside stuff might show up when you try to move in that direction, such as maybe negative feelings and thoughts that might stop you and might make you move away from those important things. For example, someone might see getting a job as very important, a major step in life. However, because it's so important, that might provoke anxiety, fear of not succeeding, self-doubt. So in this situation, there are toward moves and away moves. Toward moves that need to be made to go in this direction include maybe going online, looking for adverts, preparing a CV. However, as we said, because this is important, we might be anxious, we might have some self-doubt in case we fail. And because of that, we might procrastinate, we might postpone, we might even give up. And those would be away moves. So, when we know who and what is important to us, there are possibly obstacles like anxiety, fear of not succeeding, and self-doubts. In this situation of looking for a job, there are two choices we might have. The first choice is to maybe give up, or procrastinate, or postpone. These are away moves. And when we do these things, that means we really don't have the chance then of getting a job. But on the other hand, we can choose toward moves. We can look for adverts online. We can apply for a job. That means that we have at least the possibility then of getting a job. Let's look at another example. Let's say that someone says that family is important to them. Now, you can love your family, and of course you might want to spend time with them and do things with them. So that would be a toward move. But sometimes we can feel disappointed with somebody in the family, or we can be angry with them when something happens. We might lose our patience, or we might shout or argue. And that would be, and feeling those things, then we might shout or we might raise our voice. And that would be an away move. Okay, so again, in this situation, we have both a toward move and away move. The away move, when we feel maybe angry at somebody, we might shout, we might raise our voice at them. Toward move would be, we might apologize though, we might get their forgiveness. So with our friends and family, this is something that's important to us. We can sometimes, though, have arguments. We can feel disappointed with them. We can lose our patience. And once again, we have a choice about which way to move. When we feel angry or disappointed with somebody, we can sometimes shout and raise our voice. And this is an away move. And that can lead then to maybe not getting on so well with them. maybe we'll be isolated, maybe we'll feel sad or ashamed. We might regret doing this. We're not going to enjoy our relationship. So this is the result of making these away moves. But we can also choose to do our best to get on with this person. We might try to apologize for them. We might forgive them. And that toward move can lead to understanding and enjoying our time with them. So these are examples then of toward moves and away moves. If you observe closely, many of the away moves then are ways of really trying to stay in our comfort zone so that we don't feel awkward or anxious or other types of bad feeling. For example, in the case of looking for a job, it might seem easier to wait or not do anything rather than to apply for a job, because we might feel anxious about not succeeding. In other words, moving toward is not always easy. Going online, for example, in the case of the job, trying to look for ads and put ourselves out there is anxiety-provoking. But if we don't make a move in that direction, then we might miss out on what we value, what's important to us. In that case, getting that job. When we move towards something we value, we might not succeed the first time, or even the first few times, and then we can feel like a failure, and we can feel sad about losing out. We might feel stupid or disappointed. But it's still important to make moves anyway, to make toward moves anyway. This allows us to learn, and it gives us a chance of getting closer to what's important to us. We can look at a number of examples of this. So again, when we want to move towards success, well, again, there are some feelings that come up sometimes. We might feel like a failure. We could feel sad when we don't lose, because we're not always going to be able to be successful. And sometimes we can feel sad, or we might feel stupid or disappointed that we didn't get what we were looking for, the success we were looking for. As another example, moving towards friends. Friends might be important to us. But again, when we try to do things that will help our be with our friends or help us to socialize, sometimes other people still can let us down. We might feel disappointed. We might feel embarrassed sometimes in company, or we might have our feelings hurt. So these are all things that can be there when we are with other people sometimes and things don't go right. When we move towards adventure, when adventure is something that's important to us, sometimes we can feel disappointed that the adventure wasn't what we hoped. We might feel out of control, or we might feel sad when the adventure is over. Sometimes we can learn unpleasant things about life, so challenges and difficulties. So again, moving toward adventure can bring some of these feelings or disappointments. But once again, if adventure is something that's important to you, we still move in that direction. We still want to move toward that. And the last example then is love. So love is an important value for many, if not all of us. But moving toward love can sometimes lead to feelings of rejection, or loneliness, or insecurity, or vulnerability. But once again, it's important to move in that direction. It's important to move in the direction of what we value, even though we can sometimes have these feelings. So, the more something is important to you, the greater often is the fear of losing it. We have greater anxiety. Maybe there are bigger feelings of disappointment. But it's still important to move in the direction of what's important to us. We want to be clear about what is it that what we value, what is important, and then we should ask, is it worth the risk moving in that direction? And if the answer is yes, then we want to make that decision to move in that direction, despite those negative feelings. So failing is something that can happen in any adventure. Anytime something's important to us and we want to move in that direction, we can sometimes fail, or we might not get what we want. Sometimes things don't go as you might have hoped. But that's okay. You can try again. You can restart doing what's important to you, moving in that direction. Maybe sometimes choosing a different strategy. As a surfer, the more you practice, the better you get. And you develop the ability to surf in bigger waves and to enjoy the waves wherever you are. This is like a metaphor for moving toward. We can move in the direction of what's important to us, and we can learn and grow. And this is important